Welcome to the Current Electric High School Football State Championship Preview Show presented by Cannon and Dunphy. I am Mike McGivern. Thank you so much for joining us. So the next 2 days at Camp Randall in Madison, we will crown 7 state champions, from small schools to large schools with teams from all over the state of Wisconsin. And if we think back to August 5th, first day of practice, every team in the state starts working together to get to this point, to have the opportunity to represent the school and the community and show the state of Wisconsin that this team is the best high school football team in the state. In each of these schools, this week is different. There's not nearly as much homework as given out. The pep rallies, the team send-off, the fan buses, all take over in support of this team and everyone that supports them. The cheerleaders, the dance team, the band, and so much more. I've seen firsthand the kind of excitement that this type of success has for schools. And for these 14 schools, the state championship game is so much more than just a high school football game. There's a lot on the line for each team and community. So for the next hour, we will break down the 4 state championship games going on throughout the day today here on My 24 and at Camp Randall. And we'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. to break down the Division 3, 2, and 1 games. So to help set the table for the next 2 days, I am joined by Michael Whitlow. He's a preps writer for the Journal-Sentinel. Michael, it's good to see you again.
Always good to see you, Mike.
Man, what a great time of year for geeks like you and I.
Man, I'm a football junkie, especially this time of the year with college football really hitting high gear. And now we got high school football state championships. I can't wait.
Man, I see you on the sidelines a lot. And I always think, well, I'm not going to see many people I know. And there you are, or Zach said, there's somebody from the Journal-Sentinel. You guys don't sleep a lot. You get around to a lot of different games.
Oh, yeah. Our Friday nights, man, I'm usually going to bed about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. But I love it, man. It's like these kids work hard day in and day out. They make this job worth it. They really do.
Hey, not a lot of teams from our area made it to state. And I always talk about the Classic 8 being the best conference in the state of Wisconsin. This year at Fox Valley, there's 3 teams from that conference in state. And I've gotten a few text messages from some buddies up in the valley going, hey, you know, you've only got 1 from you, and up here there's 3. I'm wondering for you personally, do you still believe what I believe the Classic 8 is still the best football conference in the state?
I mean, the Valley has a case. There's no denying that. But the Classic 8, I mean, you're going to get a high-profile game more often than not every week. I mean, it's hard-hitting football, talented kids from D1 all the way to the NAIA level. I mean, you're going to get talent in every school. It's competitive. I think you can pick and choose who you want, but me personally, I'll take the Classic 8 over anything.
Man, I appreciate that. I do, because I'm getting beat up a little bit right now. They're asking me to show the receipts that I have, and
and no disrespect to somebody like Notre Dame. I mean, they won it in D3, they move up to D2, and now here they are again. So it's just like all respect to the Valley, but the C8, it's a different breed year in and year out.
Hey, so with the new brackets, the way the WIAA did that this year, I have not, other than a couple of parents who said, hey, I don't like having to go from Milwaukee to La Crosse in level 1, but I haven't heard any coaches complain about it, and I'm wondering if you have.
No, honestly, I haven't. I think the fascinating thing in this bracket is you see some Cinderellas that maybe we didn't expect to see, like Whitefish Bay, I think, according to the Matrix, was the second to last team in Division 3.
Correct.
And they go to the state semifinals.
Right.
They would have been out in the old formula. So it's like, I didn't really hear any complaints, and we got some cool stories out of it to boot. So it's like, me personally, whether it was parents or coaches, I didn't really hear any complaints personally.
Man, that's awesome. Some of the best games that you've seen in person this year, I don't know how we don't start with the Grafton CMH game. What an unbelievable game. I got a chance to listen because I was at a different game, but listen to the end, to listen to the overtime. And I didn't realize what happened in that game, where CMH comes out and gets 28 in the third quarter to go up 21. Grafton comes back and gets it to overtime. And then everything that happened in overtime, I was sitting in front of my house and couldn't leave because I had to listen to the end of it, and had to be really exciting to be at that game.
Oh, it was an absolutely incredible football game. I mean, Grafton goes in down 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and they didn't blink. I mean, it was big play here, big play there. And and Coach Norris always says, pound the rock. And that's more than just running the football 30 times a game. It's being physical at the point of attack. And they did. And I mean, they outworked Catholic Memorial down the stretch of that game and made an unbelievable comeback.
Do you know, though that game, right? I love Coach Bill Young, love Jim Norris, and Jim Norris makes me happy. He makes me smile because he's one of those 3 yards cloud of dust. We're gonna wear you down. We're gonna beat you up.
Yep.
And that team has taken on the identity of their coach because that's how he was. And the family he married into are all football guys, and I just really enjoy the way he goes about it. And to be able to be in Bill Young's office a couple weeks ago and talk to him about this team and how special this team is to him, maybe a little sad they didn't make it, but certainly congratulations to Grafton and the great job that Jim Norris and his staff has done.
Absolutely. And it's always funny. I've talked to Coach Norris over the last couple of years, and the last 2 times they've gone to state, he's kind of had some chaos behind the scenes. His wife had a baby a couple years ago when they went to state. And then this year, his whole household before the CMH game, they were all sick. So there was a sick bug going around. He's like, I went to shake his hand, and he's like, hey, don't get too close. I've been fighting a sick bug all week. So he always weathers the storm, is like I told him, when we talked after the CMH game, and he is just, like you said, he is a football guy. And you look at him, it's like, yeah, that's a football coach.
Yeah, 100%. He really is. Another game, pick one more game before we get to a break that maybe you saw this year that you walked away going, wow, that was a really good high school football game.
I mean, staying with CMH, I mean, Franklin CMH week 1, the last few years, I mean, those are 2 of the most talented teams in our area and in the state. Excellent football game. Got to see some excellent teams in the playoffs itself. I mean, I got to see Bayport against city champion Milwaukee Reagan. That Bayport team is really, really good. Arrowhead is going to have their hands full in D1, and there's so many good teams in this area. And I've had the pleasure of seeing some really good games, and I'm really fortunate.
Hey, last thing, real quick, players that have jumped off the field, and I'll just give you one for me. Hamilton, the kid from Racine St. Catharines. Lamont Hamilton is a big-time basketball player, but on the football field, anytime he touches the ball, there's a chance he's taking it to the house. They were playing Lake Country Lutheran. They had the game in hand. He was on the bench. I went back and I went over and sat next to him. I said, hey, what's going on next year? And he kind of smiled, and I said, Wisconsin. He goes, no, they haven't really talked to me. Minnesota. I think that might be. And I talked to Dan Miller, and I said, they haven't talked to him. And he said, no, they really haven't. They asked me to send a film, and what's his 40 time? And I thought, man, this kid's he's going to come back and haunt them.
It's funny, Mike. We've had that conversation before on radio, and I mentioned, I'm like, this kid put on one of the single greatest state title game performances on Camp Randall's turf, and you don't recruit him tougher than that.
Right.
How do you not? He's an amazing football player. He might even be a better basketball player.
He is. I agree with that. There are so many stories that we're going to get into, and we will talk Division 7, 6, 5, and 4 today, and then come back tomorrow at 9 a.m., and we'll talk Division 3, 2, and 1. On the other side of the break, we will break down the Division 7 matchup between Cochran Fountain City and Kenosha St. Joe's Catholic. This is the Current Electric High School Football State Championship Preview Show presented by Cannon and Dunphy, only on My 24. Welcome back to the Current Electric High School Football State Championship Preview Show presented by Cannon and Dunphy. Getting you ready for the Wisconsin State High School Football Championships, let's turn our attention over to Division 7 as the Pirates from Cochran Fountain City take on the Lancers from Kenosha St. Joe's Catholic. Cochran Fountain City, champions of the Dairyland Conference, 13-0 overall, 7-0 in conference, and they are led by the head football coach there, Jesse Cyrus. Hey, Michael, so Jesse Cyrus is also the basketball coach at Cochran Fountain City, and they won a state championship last year. And when I was at Martin Luther, we had some success in basketball, and that carried over into football. Now, every sports team in that school wants to have the pep rally and the bus. And we've got to give these guys a lot of credit. I had talked to him a little bit about, is there a carryover from football to basketball to football? He said, absolutely. When kids learn how to compete at a high level and they learn how to compete as a team, that does carry over. Got to give this guy a lot of credit, man. He's coaching a lot of sports there in that town.
Yeah, no, and a great example for our area, we had Marquette do it a couple of years ago,
Correct.
boys basketball and football. It's always cool to see communities kind of unite and have success on the big stage. And credit to Jesse. I mean, I had them in the state championship game personally with my own prediction, so it's good to see them here. But yeah, I mean, I got to give a guy credit to put in that kind of work day in and day out from August to March. That's impressive.
Hey, during the press conference, he had talked about a multi-sport athlete, a kid that really makes this team go, Parker Kujak.
Parker, he is just a natural gifted athlete. He's also on the basketball team. He golfs in the spring. He used to play baseball, but he's really good at baseball. He's really good at golf. He ended up golfing more this past year, because obviously golf had a really good team as well. He's just a natural gifted athlete, and he's a competitor. He always wants to win. He does it the right way. He's ready to learn. He's always asking questions, and he's just a fun kid to coach.
So, Michael, they have a number of multi-sport athletes, and when you're talking Division VII, I think, yeah, look, if you can throw a ball, catch a ball, block somebody, you have to get involved, especially at schools that size. And when you listen, Jesse, talk about these kids that play multiple sports and how much they learn on how to win and how to be competitive and play for each other. Really impressive, the things going on at Cochran Fountain.
And I think it's especially impressive too when you think about it. Some of these kids are not only playing football, they're playing both sides of the ball, and maybe even playing special teams as well. So that takes even more effort. And yeah, I think it really teaches kids discipline. It teaches kids unity. It teaches kids so many different aspects that they can apply to their life as well.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about Kenosha St. Joe's. Matt Rizzo, tough schedule. They played, every one of their games was against a division at least one higher or more. Yeah. And he did that on purpose to kind of find out where they're at. 15 seniors on this team. And again, when you're talking Division VII, when you have 15 seniors on your roster, that's a lot. And you really kind of like the fact that he has fully gotten involved in the youth program at St. Joe's, and to be able to coach your son, something that I had the blessing to do. We talked to him in the press conference about what it's like coaching his son.
I guess I would recommend it to everybody if you had an opportunity to ever coach your kid, but I don't know if everybody would want to do that, but I think he's handled it better than I have. First and foremost, he's a great kid, and it's been a blessing overall. He's completely just made me proud of him every step of the way. But he handles that pressure really well, having his dad as the coach and as an administrator in the school too. So, but he's a great kid, and I've enjoyed every step of the way with it, and it just allowed him to watch him grow, and have him sit behind Eric Hennessy for a couple of years was a pretty good idea too. And just having him understand what's expected of him to play at a high level and high school level. And but he's a great leader, great student, great captain, along with his other buddies. But I've enjoyed every step, and I've been blessed every step of the way as well.
We talked about the multi-sport athletes for Cochran Fountain City. Kenosha St. Joe's, same thing. I mean, their baseball team won a state championship last year. And when you talk to Matt Rizzo, he said, look, a number of those guys play on football, and they felt what that success felt like, and now they want to feel it in football as well. Also, Coach Rizzo talked about Hennessy and the quarterback from last year or 2 years ago, that his son had to sit behind. And now he's got a brother who's a running back, the dad's on the staff, and a number of dads on the staff down at Kenosha St. Joe's. And I'm not sure that always is the way for success, but a lot of those dads have played, and they have that in their blood. They've been part of the program, and now they're coming back to help Coach Rizzo. And he said, look, it's kind of a family affair here at Kenosha St. Joe's.
Yeah, it really is. And on top of that, those kids are really talented. I mean, Zach Rizzo was named Small School Offensive Player of the Year earlier this week. Dominic Rinaldi, I think, has 52 catches for 11 touchdowns and like 1,100 yards receiving. Tennessee, the running back, over 1,000 yards rushing. Like, these kids can play. Not only do they have that camaraderie, in keeping it within the family, there's also some really good football players too.
Yeah, and certainly Coach Rizzo's son, Zach has had a big year, right? He's thrown for almost 2,300 yards. He is 26 touchdowns, something like that, 100 yards rushing, 8 touchdowns. So he's a kid, and they play both sides of the ball.
Yep.
And that always makes me a little bit nervous when my quarterback, who's my son, is also playing a little linebacker, a little safety. But they have to do that in some of these smaller schools. And talking to kids from smaller schools, they love that. They love not coming off the field because that's how they've been doing this for a long time. And I love the fact that the staff down at St. Joe's, when they talk about it being a family affair, not only are these guys that understand what Coach Rizzo's looking for, but they understand the culture of what St. Joe's is all about.
Yeah, and it goes back to the family discussion we were having. And on top of that, Chris's older brother, Eric Hennessy, who I think set a state record for points in the semifinals a couple years ago in basketball, he was an all-state safety and an all-state quarterback. Yeah. So it's like I said, they not only have the talent, but they have the camaraderie, they have the family affair, and it's discipline. Like I said earlier with CFC, it's discipline, it's understanding that you have a giant responsibility in these smaller schools, and these kids live up to that and then some.
Yeah, I'm sure that, I don't know if the Kennessees have any more boys, but they might. And if I would have their dad on my staff too, just to keep that family. Probably has the
pipeline going.
Have the mom get involved with the cheerleading group or the booster club and make sure that they're fully invested. A lot of St. Joe gear is what I would give that family. We're going to get to a break. Other side of the break, we're going to discuss the Division 6 matchup between the 13-0 Darlington team against 13-0 Edgar, again, undefeated teams. This is the Kern Electric High School Football State Championship Preview Show presented by Cannon and Dunphy, only on My 24. Welcome back to the Kern Electric High School Football State Championship Preview Show presented by our friends at Cannon and Dunphy, getting you ready for the Wisconsin State High School Football Championships. Let's turn our attention over to Division 6. Both teams are undefeated. Redbirds from Darlington against the Tigers from Edgar. Michael, let's start with the Redbirds from Darlington, the undefeated champions of the SWAL WSAL Conference this season. They're led by their head football coach, Travis Winkers. Look, playing really well at the right time is what he talked about in his press conference. A lot of games have been blowouts this year. They're playing only 4 seniors, which if I'm in that conference, not happy to hear that for sure. But this team's been playing really well right from the jump, and he's happy with the way they're playing right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is a program with a lot of history, too. I think they've been to like 7 state championship games since 1996 alone. This is a program with a lot of pedigree, a lot of success. And you get those blowouts sometimes in these smaller school games. Right. But, hey, you play who's in front of you and you win, and it's that simple. And like Travis said, they're really kind of peaking at the right time.
Yeah, they really are. He talked about 2 of the juniors making this happen. His quarterback, who's had a big year throwing the ball and a really big year running the ball, and his receivers, Zeke and Dante. And Travis talks a little bit about what they've added to this team.
He is just a flat-out dude. He really is. He's the best quarterback I've had as a junior. He's probably the smartest sports kid I've had, which helps him on the defensive side of the ball as well. And then his top-end speed is probably the best we've had. I wouldn't say his 15 to 20 yards isn't the quickest as we've had, but his top-end speed is ridiculous. And he's a 4.0 kid. I can't say enough about him and Dante. They're probably 2, I don't get in trouble too much, but they are my 2 favorite kids I've ever coached, and they're only juniors. They're just tremendous leaders as well.
Michael, that says a lot about the Darlington team when your coach comes out, and Travis Winker's been around for a bit, and when you talk about, look, these are 2 of, not supposed to say it, 2 of my favorite players, but when he talks about, look, not only are they really good athletes, but probably the smartest kid that I've coached, and that says a lot about, letting him run the huddle, having him have a little bit of freedom, and look, Zeke has rushed for 1,200 yards and thrown for like 1,500. He's had a heck of a year. I think all state in a couple different positions.
Yeah, absolutely. And to kind of piggyback off what Travis said, I think all coaches are kind of lying if they don't say their quarterback is one of their favorite kids to coach, because you have to have that camaraderie between quarterback and coach. If you're going to have any success at any level, that relationship has to be tight. So I don't blame Travis for saying that, and I don't blame him either, because Zeke's been a phenomenal player this year.
He has, and he's done really, really well. They are playing against an Edgar team that is just, they've been here before. You know, ho-hum, we've done it before, and Coach Sins, who is a Hall of Fame coach, when we talked to him, he said, look, my team is pretty experienced, but it's one of the smaller teams that I've ever had. So we've had to kind of change up on a couple of things. But they've had defensively 8 shutouts this year. So defensively, Edgar is playing Edgar football.
Oh, yeah. And it's like I wrote in our state predictions at the Journal-Sentinel, I said, I'm not going to pick against Jerry Sins. I never have. I never will. And for good reason, because he's one of the best coaches in the history of this state. And it almost feels like this is like an annual trip to Madison for this team year in and year out.
You know, I'm glad you said that, because during the press conference, he talked about it's the 16th time that he's gotten to state. And what he says about it is really interesting.
Well, I don't really think about it all that much, to tell you the truth. But yeah, it's fun. The fans, of course, really enjoy it. The school kids love it. I had a couple little second and third graders tell me, thanks for giving us a day off school on Thursday, and things like that. But no, it's always a new group of kids, and the coaches have done a great job. We had a lot of our coaches played here in the past, so they kind of know the system, and then they work really hard and do a really good job. So that's a big part of why we make it back so often.
Michael, the other thing he talked about, which is really interesting to me, is he is now coaching grandsons of former players that he has coached in the past. And as we talked about with Kenosha St. Joe's, at Edgar, this is what we do, right? We win our conference, we get to state, we go deep into the playoffs, and it's interesting that the grandparents are guys that he has coached, and you talk about Coach Sins and not picking against him. Yeah, I don't either, because he's had such a long track record of knowing how to build and maintain a program. Look, when you're Edgar, everybody wants to beat you, right? Every game they have is somebody's Super Bowl. And the fact that they just keep year after year, and the fact that he's been there 16, 17 times is an incredible story.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, like, especially when you have a coach of that long of a tenure, I kind of relate to Catholic Memorial and Coach Young. I mean, they call him Grandpa. You know, he's been there for so many years, but it's done out of love. It's done out of respect for these coaches and what they've done and how they've helped educate these kids on and off the field for so many years. It's always good to see Coach Sins in Madison.
You know, one of the big jobs that Coach Winkers from Darlington has is to convince his kids, don't worry about what's on the front of that jersey, right? You don't want to go into the game 7-0 before the game starts, because your kids are like, well, you know what, Edgar, man, this team, they are here all the time. They understand where the locker room is, you know, what time the bus leaves, all of that. And as a basketball coach, we had some of that. Look, don't worry about what's on the front of the jersey. You know what? You just do what we tell you to do, and we have a chance to win. If you can do that, and especially in the day of social media, right? Coach Winkers has to make a point of, look, it's just another football team. Don't worry about, who cares what they did 10 years ago? That's not these guys, right? This is a different team.
Yep.
And I think that part of what Darlington has to do, first quarter of this game is a big first quarter for them.
Oh, absolutely. And I say this biasly, of course, as a Notre Dame football fan growing up in Indiana. When you walk in Notre Dame Stadium, you know it's different. And this is not, this is not normal. This is hallowed ground. But that's how teams win there. It's just another football game.
Right.
You just got to go in, hey, it's the same layout and everything.
You know what? I'll give you a little tip. Not even the coaches believe that. Not even the coaches. We can say it all we want, but in the closed door of the coach's office, We know.
Oh, yeah.
And those guys know for sure. Michael, we're going to get to a break. Other side, we'll discuss the Division 5 matchup between Mayville and Northwestern. This is the Current Electric High School Football State Championship Preview Show presented by Cannon and Dunphy, only on My 24. Welcome back to the Current Electric High School Football State Championship Preview Show presented by Cannon and Dunphy. I'm Mike McGivern alongside my co-host. He's Michael Whitlow, the preps writer for the Journal-Sentinel. We're getting close to kickoff for the Wisconsin State High School Football Championships right here on My 24. Let's turn our attention over to Division 5 as the Cardinals from Mayville take on the Tigers from Northwestern. Let's start with Mayville, Michael, if we can. 7-0. They won the Flyaway Conference, 13-0 overall, and not real happy that they're in this game. Kind of personal for me, but they took out Lake Country Lutheran in Division 4, or in Level 4, excuse me, and my grandson, Logan Bonner, plays for Lake Country Lutheran. So I was really hoping to watch him play up at Camp Randall in person. But you got to give the boys, the Cardinals from Mayville, a lot of credit. Man, they've had a heck of a year.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, they have. And LCL's a good team. I mean,
Really good.
the fact that game was so close and they were able to kind of pull away late, it shows, like, again, we've been talking about it, the pedigree of some of these schools. It's just they're well coached, they're disciplined, and they execute.
Well, I'm glad you said that because that tees up exactly what Scott Hilber, their head coach, talked about on the press conference of being able to wear down Lake Country Lutheran a little bit in the second half.
We do a pretty good job of rotating our linemen. We try not to have any linemen have to go more than 1.5 ways. I mean, we only got so many athletes. We got to use them all, but we don't have to use them all the time. And having that ability to be able to rotate guys around through the offensive and defensive lines usually does allow us to be in good position in the fourth quarter. And our goal usually, we have good games, to say, make sure we have a game in the fourth quarter, and then we know we got a shot.
You know, Michael, they run the wing tee, and Northwestern, who they're playing, runs the wing tee as well. It's going to be a quick game. I had not a lot of throws in that. I can tell you that the background of Scott Hilber is very interesting to me. The last time Mayville won the gold ball, won a state championship, was 1994, and his father, Coach Hilber, was the head coach there. And a lot of what Scott talked about was trying to bring this gold ball back. The father-son side of it, the community loved his father. He's doing great. They love him. And to be able to bring that gold ball back after the last time in 1994 that his dad did it would be, you know, certainly a lot to talk about over the Thanksgiving dinner, I can tell you that.
Oh, absolutely. And it's like, and that's one thing that I've learned in my few years here in Wisconsin. There's a lot of family pipelines, especially at some of these smaller schools. And to have that kind of connection and to potentially win a state championship right before a family-based holiday, that's got to be hopefully for them, one of the coolest feelings in the world.
100%. So they're going to be playing Northwestern again. They run the wing tee as well. Heavy run, right? They're going to run it a lot. They are coached by Jovan Kroll. They 7-0 in the Heart of North Conference, 13-0 overall. And talking and listening to him a little bit about the family ties. His son is their quarterback, having a great year, multi-sport athlete. But when you talk about the alumni, the community side of Northwestern and what this means to them, he talked about it at the press conference. Really interesting.
We've got a long history here of being very successful, of winning conference titles, but it's been 32 years since we've been in Madison. And I'm not a math teacher, but I think that's a pretty long time between state appearances. So we're due. We feel 32 years is definitely long enough. We went in 88 and won it. 93, we were the runners up. So to have a group that finally breaks through and makes it back to Madison after really over a generation, most of our kids on our team, I mean, their parents were in either high school. I've got 2 assistant coaches who played on the 93 team, whose kids are on our roster right now. So it's been a generation, and that's This is a very big deal up here. It's been a long time. Our conference hasn't had anybody. The Heart of the North hasn't had a team in the state finals, I don't think, since maybe Spooner in around 95 or 96. So to get down to Madison to the finals from up here means a lot, because not only our conference, Superior, Ashland, Webster, Hayward, a lot of those teams have state championships, but it's been since the 80s and early 90s. So this is a big deal for us up north.
Coach Kroll was also talking a little bit about the travel side of it, right? And I had the opportunity to coach against Northwestern State semifinals in basketball, and I was shocked how many their side was packed. And he talked about, look, we're coming down on Wednesday. We're going to head over to DeForest, get a walkthrough, get a dinner, team bonding. But I know as a basketball coach, that night where guys are staying in a hotel, I was maybe a little nervous, right? Are they going to sleep? Are they playing video games? Are they online? Right. And he said, look, we understand this is a business trip, and we're going to come down and in our entire community. He didn't say this, but if you're looking around the house, you might want to go to the Northwestern area, because that whole city, and I saw it firsthand for basketball, they're all coming down and supporting this team, this coach, and this program. And look, I love that. It's kind of like Hoosiers for football.
Yeah, it kind of reminds you of movies like Hoosiers, where it's like you see the signs in the window, closed, gone to the game. That's what it sounds like it is at Northwestern, and that's awesome, because like Coach Kroll said, they haven't won a state title since 1988.
Right.
It's a long drought. So they get a shot to end it this week, and honestly, this should be not only a fast football game, it should be a very good football game.
A lot of hitting going on. I can tell you that. And one thing Coach Kroll talked about, he said the advantage that we have is we have 4 guys that have put up pretty good numbers as far as rushing the ball. And when you have that kind of, 3 guys on the field at the same time, and sometimes 4, and when you run the wing T, nobody really knows who has the ball. And he said, we've been blessed with some pretty good athletes and a pretty good line that we're able to take a lot of time off the clock, and we're able to have success whoever we hand the ball to.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beautiful thing with the wing T is there's so much misdirection. There's so many options the quarterback can go with the football. And when you're in a game like this, every possession is going to matter. Yep. So points could be at a premium, especially when you're facing 2 identical offenses. Every minute detail is going to matter for these offenses.
What's really interesting to me is when you're playing against a wing T, and I talk to people in the Classic A, they go, look, we don't see it.
Yeah.
And then in 5 days, we get it ready to play Muskegon.
Yep.
And now you've got 2 teams that run it, but are their defensive, are they used to it? But their coaching staff is. It's just going to be a really interesting chess match between Mayville and Northwestern, and looking forward to seeing how these coaches, that first half is going to be really interesting. You may see 3 possessions total.
I was literally going to set the over-under at about 3.5 passes.
There it is. And you know what? I might take the under in that. I love that. Michael, we're going to get to a break. Other side, we're going to discuss the Division IV matchup between Little Chute and Winneconne. This is the Current Electric High School Football State Championship Preview Show, presented by Cannon and Dunphy, only on My 24. Welcome back to the Current Electric High School Football State Championship Preview Show, presented by Cannon and Dunphy. I'm Mike McGivern alongside Michael Whitlow, preps writer for the Journal-Sentinel. We're getting close to kickoff for the Wisconsin State High School Football Championships. Let's turn our attention over to Division IV as the Mustangs from Little Chute take on the Wolves from Winneconne. Let's start with Little Chute if we can. Michael, first-year head coach, and when we talked to him in the press conference, his name is Mark Kromenaker, and he said, listen, new system, new culture here at Little Chute when I came in, but everybody bought in, the families bought in, the community bought in, and he said, look, I couldn't be happier with making the decision to take the job at Little Chute. And he said, it's interesting, we played Winneconne to start the year. And so now we're going to play them again, but our team and their team are totally different.
Yeah, these are always unique matchups when you see a team earlier in the year and then you play them again, because coaches always like to throw maybe a tweak or two in offensively, or maybe throw them a disguise of a blitz defensively. These rematches are always unique because more often than not, it's going to be much different the second time around compared to the first meeting.
100%. And they've had a tough run in the playoffs. They were down against Columbus. And then they got the lead, and they actually ran the last 8 minutes not to give Columbus a chance to get the ball back. And he was so proud of that for sure. And then he was asked what it would mean for the school and the program to win a gold ball, because they've not won a gold ball in football.
Yeah, well, it mean a lot. I know Little Shoe has great tradition in football, other sports too. But I know, even when I first came around here, that was mentioned. Well, hey, we've had some really good teams, but we haven't necessarily won a WIAA state championship. So it's definitely been on their minds. And so, I mean, it's not like I came in here saying, yes, we're doing this. This is what we have to do, or it's a failure. It was more, all right, well, here's the steps. We got to get more physical. We got to get stronger. We have to be just intentional about everything that we're doing. And you continue to stack those days over and over, then good things are going to happen. And we have seniors that have believed into that, have put in the work, have brought the energy. And so it's just kind of stacking those things up. And we think that the most physical team will win. And so that's what we're trying to do every single day, and play with some discipline, play with some effort, and relentless pursuit, as our D coordinator, Trevor, preaches every single day and has been preaching since June. And so it would mean a lot, because that means that the kids, they believed in everything we're doing, and we're better because of it, and will bring a lot of pride to the community.
Michael, he talked about the seniors on this team, but when you look at their stats, most of their leaders are juniors. And he talked a little bit about their quarterback, and he talked about their receiver that's having a big year. But Reese Jotten, their leading running back and their leading tackler from the linebacker position. And he talked about Reese being just one of the tougher kids that he's ever coached, and one of the tougher kids that understands it. He's in the weight room, he's in the film room, and he said, look, he is truly a leader on both sides of the ball. And when you've got guys that are juniors, and he talked about the seniors, but when you have guys that are juniors that accept the leadership from the seniors and put up the kind of numbers they have, it's a really good football team.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's a cool thing for Mark to come in, as a first-year head coach, and you're getting production from your juniors already, and you're already making this run to state. I mean, he's got to love where this program's heading the next 2, 3, 4 years, and being able to build that foundation so early in his tenure, he's got to love the trajectory of this program.
And when Coach Sims talked about he had second and third graders thanking him for getting a day off, that's happened in Little Chute. And those are the kids that will be the future of this program.
Exactly.
And they'll remember being up at Camp Randall and how the Mustangs played. Hey, let's talk a little bit about Winneconne. This is the only team we have that has co-head coaches. And I was really interested to hear a little bit about what that was like. And I asked a question to Nathan and Orion, their co-head coaches, what it was like to be co-head coaches. Was it similar to a marriage? And this is how they answered it.
He does a lot of what he does, and I do what I do, and it is a lot like a marriage. We don't really get on each other's nerves. We don't have an ego. We're here to, put the kids in the best position, and we use our strengths and our weaknesses to counteract each other.
Nate handles all of the, I guess you could say, the practice plan. Nate handles game day plan, offense, defense. I do a lot of the background stuff. I deal with the administrative stuff. I work with the parents, equipment types of things like that. All the stuff that a head coach shouldn't have to worry about, I kind of take care of.
Michael, I think that's the best way to do it. I do. If you and I are co-head coaches and you take the offense and I take the defense, and I'm giving up 6 points a game, but your side's only scoring 3 points a game, we're going to have a little bit of an issue. I love the way that they are co-head coaches. One is handling off behind the scenes, the parents, the paperwork, the buses, everything like that, and one's handling stuff on the field. I feel like that might be the way that this can be successful, and obviously they're doing it.
Yeah, it's kind of reminds me of how like college athletics are nowadays, where you have the head coaches that have to make the appearances with the alumni, but then you also have the coordinators that are setting up NIL deals and stuff like that, where it's like they're handling all the miscellaneous stuff while the coach can just focus on a specific sport. And it seems like it's working for Winneconne.
You know, and we talked a little bit about their year and some of their players, and they kept bringing up Brody Schaefer. He's their quarterback, their leading rusher, and he made a comment that said, look, he might be the toughest kid that we've ever had. And that tells me a little something, that he probably is the toughest kid they've ever had if they're willing to talk about that in a press conference. And when you've thrown for just under 1,800 yards and you've rushed for 1,100 yards, yeah, you're the kid that everybody's keying in on. And the fact that he has thrown the ball the way he has and the way that he's rushed the ball gives Winneconne a chance to get a win here, I think, in the state championship.
Absolutely. I believe he was an all-state selection earlier in the week as well. The kid just oozes toughness. When you're a quarterback that's throwing for almost 2,000 yards and running for 1,000 yards, like the ball's in your hand a lot and you have a lot of responsibility. And for this team to have that much success, it just speaks to Brody's toughness and his playmaking ability.
It does. It's interesting that these teams have played already. And as you had talked about earlier in this segment, people change, a lot of changes.
Yeah.
Injuries. We've decided instead of running the ball so much, maybe we should throw a little bit. This receiver's better than we thought. That kind of stuff. They can go back and watch that game tape, but there's just been so many changes over this season, and I think that they probably will, but won't spend too much time on what that first game, first week looked like.
Yeah, it'll definitely look different compared to what they saw on tape. And on top of that, it's like you said, teams are just functioning at a different rate this time of the year compared to where they may have been, earlier in the year. So this game's going to look a lot different, but I won't be surprised if it's a one-possession game late.
No, me neither. I agree with you on that. It should be a really fun game to watch. We're going to get to a break. Other side of the break, I'm going to ask my co-host, Michael Whitlow, preps writer for the Journal-Sentinel, to make some predictions about the games that are going on today. Division 7 is about to kick off in a few minutes at Camp Randall, and so stay with us here on My 24 for games throughout the day, and then back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Again, other side of the break, we'll find out what Michael Whitlow thinks of these games that you're going to see right here on My 24. This is the Current Electric High School Football State Championship Preview Show presented by Cannon and Dunphy, only on My 24. Welcome back to the Current Electric High School Football State Championship Preview Show presented by Cannon and Dunphy, getting really close to kickoff for the Wisconsin State High School Football Division 7 Championship game. So, Michael, before we get into predictions, I want to talk a little bit about the chance for these kids to play on the field at Camp Randall, and what a big opportunity it is for these guys.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, Camp Randall is one of those stadiums that you walk into and it's like, man, there's been a lot of history in this stadium. Yeah. You see the Rose Bowl years, you see the Big Ten titles, you see all the pageantry and the historic nature of that stadium. These kids have to be on cloud nine walking into that stadium.
And the idea of getting look on the coaching staff, getting them on the field as quick as possible to get, okay, you've seen it. And the old Hoosier thing, look, it's still 10 feet, right? It's still, the hoop is still 10 feet, just like it is back in Hickory type thing. And I know for a team like Edgar, look, all these kids were in the stands. Now then they're in the freshman team, they're on the stands. They're used to being there, and that template has been set. But for some of these teams that haven't been there before, it's all about getting the pictures out of the way, getting your grandma's crying, your mom's wearing the jersey with the big, let's get that all of the way and let's get down to business, and trying to make this a business trip with 16, 17-year-old kids is very difficult.
Oh, I can imagine. I'm sure these coaches, it's probably like a sheep herder. They're just trying to get kids on the field and in pads as quick as possible, but also let them enjoy it, because you never know when you're going to get back here if you get back here. So it's like, enjoy it, but also understand we got a football game to win.
Michael, all the years I coached basketball, I can tell you about the journey to get to state. I can tell you very little about winning the state championship, and I was lucky enough to win a couple of them, but the journey part of it is the part that I remember the most. And I'm wondering, and I think with most of these coaches, it's going to be the same. And for other coaches that I've talked to, they've said, yeah, you know what, when you go through that to beating St. Catherine's in state semifinals, right, in basketball, some of these teams, some of the schools that haven't been to state, I hope that they remember all of it, not like I have selective memory on some of this stuff.
Yeah, and me personally, it's like when I played baseball in high school, I remember the games, but I remember the bus rides.
Yes.
I remember hanging out with some of the friends that I'm still friends with to this day. That's what I remember the most. And our journeys through the playoffs, that's what I remember the most.
Yeah, I love that. Let's start. I'm going to ask you to pick because I'm horrible at this. Well, there's a couple I might throw something in. Let's start with Division 7. Again, kickoff is coming right up here at 10 o'clock. Cochrane Fountain against Kenosha St. Joe's.
I love this matchup. I think these are probably the two best teams in D7. I went with CFC to start before the playoffs. I'm going to stick with them. I think Jesse's got a good thing going with this team. You know, both teams are going to have kids playing both ways. It's just a matter of who's going to make the big plays down the stretch. I'm going to ride with CFC.
I like Matt Rizzo. I'm going with Rizzo. I'm going with Kenosha St. Joe's.
I respect that.
You know, private school guy in the conference, how he's doing.
I got to stick to my pre-tournament prediction there.
There you go. I might beat you on that one. We'll see. Darlington versus Edgar. I know where you're going because I read your stuff. You're not voting. You are not going to go against Edgar because of the tradition in their head coach.
Of course, I'm not picking against Jerry Sins. You can't make me do it, man. And it's just, and also the team, like you said, they've pitched how many shutouts? 8 this year. Yeah, I'm trusting that defense with Maverick Butt in the middle of that defense. He's ran for 1,100 yards and 17 touchdowns offensively as well. I'm not picking against Edgar.
Yeah, I'm taking Darlington. I'm just going against you on that one. Division 5. I mean, I got to figure this one out. Northwestern having to come in because of the amount of travel, having to come in on Wednesday, do the hotel stay, you know, have a meal, get a little walkthrough and stuff like that against Mayville. I'm picking Mayville because they beat my boys at Lake Country Lutheran. Wondering who you're taking.
You know what? We're 3 for 3 and picking against each other. I'm going to take Northwestern here. And why is because they have a big play machine in Tyson Teal. He's a junior. I think he's averaged almost 13 yards a carry. He's averaged over 20 yards a catch this year. He's been phenomenal for them. I'm going to trust him to make a couple of big plays for Northwestern to bring them their first state title since '88.
Division 4 tonight, 7 o'clock kick. Winneconne against Little Chute. Who do you have?
I'm going back and forth with this one. These teams feel so evenly matched. Little Chute's the only team that's playing today that has a loss, and they're still 12-1. I'm going to ride with the Wolves. I'm going to take Ryan and Nathan in the co-head coaches here. I'm going to trust the Wolves here.
Well, you're making me take Little Chute. I'll take Little Chute. Michael did a great job. You're going to be back tomorrow with me, and I really appreciate that. 9 o'clock, we're going to break down Divisions 3, 2, and 1 right here on My 24. And on the other side of the break, the wait is over. Time for kickoff as Division 7 state championship game against Cochrane Fountain City versus Kenosha St. Joe's Catholic. Stay right here throughout the entire day on My 24 for the state championship games. This has been the Current Electric High School Football State Championship Preview Show presented by Cannon and Dunphy only on My 24.